Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Courageous love now. Hello, beautiful people. Courageous Lara here of the Courageous Love Now podcast. And today, I have the great pleasure to introduce me, Lara Helena of Harmonize to One. I wanted to share a little bit about the big passion in my life for harmony, for something that has been a lifelong project, an experiential creation of that which I am, a creator and an artist and a healer. Harmonize to One is so many things, and I've explained it in some other videos that you can find on my website, harmonizetoone.com. But today I would love to share on the Courageous Love Now podcast a little more about what Harmonize to One is. So the first question I have for you, the listener, the viewer, is what does the word harmony or harmonize mean to you? So for me, growing up in a household or households, because my family was divorced, I had a lot of disharmony. And I learned very quickly as I got older that I was somewhat the harmonizer. Now, that could have come out of dysfunctional behavior and a way of a coping mechanism. But I turned that ability into my life path. I started dancing at the age of 14 in dance classes. And I always had an attraction to music and to nature and to connection and to spirituality. So it was very natural for me to dive into the element of harmony. As I got older and understood more, as I started to study meditation and philosophy and deeper into spirituality and different types of teachings, I started to expand that meaning of what harmony was for me. So when I say the name of my creation, Harmonize to One, harmonize represents everything, because everything is vibration and frequency. Everything on this planet that has atoms, that is made of matter, has a vibration and a frequency. And even things that are inanimate, the earth, dirt, and rocks, everything is vibration and frequency. Everything on our planet, everything in the universe is made of protons and electrons, which create the atoms that matter is made of and consists of, which means every cell in my body, everything that I am surrounded by right now, has a vibration and a frequency. And when we think of vibration, a lot of people will think of sound. When you think of harmony, you might think of someone's voice or a choir or music. But everything has a level of frequency and vibration in which we are now able to measure. So color has vibration and frequency. Of course, sound has vibration and frequency. Food, all the minerals have different vibrations and frequencies and different types of foods. Obviously, temperature, fabrics, everything has vibration and a frequency in which we can measure. Now, like the mandala behind me, for those that are on the video, in this color and the way that something is shaped, shapes have a vibration and frequency, starting from the very basic shape of a circle to a triangle to a square and to amazing artist designs. Why is it that you can walk into a museum and you resonate with a very specific art piece? Because there's a frequency and a vibration that's coming from it that speaks to you, to your vibration and frequency. So when we speak about harmonizing to one as us, the client or the explorer of wanting to create more harmony in our being, in our mind, body, and spirit, we are learning how to alter our own vibration and frequency. And we have 7 chakras for those that are understanding what that concept is, that are all the colors of the rainbow behind me, including that one, the red one. And each one of those chakras has a vibration and frequency that connects to different elements and aspects of our emotional body, our spiritual body, our physical body, our organs, our cells, at every level. So, harmonizing to one means, how is it that because I am not like any one of you, each one of us, 7 billion humans, have a different genetic code. Even twins have different genetic codes. There's something different about them. One little piece is slightly different. And of course, through their life experience, their vibrations and frequencies are going to be adapted to their experiences on the planet. And that happens from the minute they come out of their mother's womb. They start to be different, and to sculpt that, you could say, your personal song, your personal life song. What is the song of you that has a specific rhythm, a specific harmony, a specific melody, right? So in the journey of harmonizing to one, we first have to understand what it is to be in harmony, and then what it is to not be in harmony. So if I feel in harmony in my physical body, but there's something that's not in harmony in my emotional body, then I'm not fully harmonized. If I feel harmonized on all levels, except there's something not harmonized on my spiritual level, well, then I'm not fully harmonized to one, to the whole of which we are a part. Because again, everything that is animate that we can see, feel, taste, touch, and even not see, electromagnetic fields, our biofield, so our aura. So everything that is alive, like plants, they emit an energy that we now can trace, we now can record. We can see it on a computer screen with the right tools to say, oh, this is setting off this type of frequency, and it expands out this far. So the human biofield expands out about 6 feet, and it's even been measured up to 80 feet from someone who has a very powerful biofield. So in that, there's so many layers to the fine-tuning of our frequencies and our vibration. So it feels a little overwhelming, but it's almost like we get to, as our own scientist, as our own doctor, to say, okay, what do I need to bring me more into harmony with my respiratory system, bring me more harmony with my digestive system, bring me in harmony with my circulatory system, bring me more in harmony with my creativity, bring me more in harmony with my focus. So whatever it is that you are trying to attain in this life, you have the possibility to bring more harmony, which means more coherence. And there's a saying nowadays, we talk about heart coherence, right? That our heart has such a powerful coherence, that the energy of the heart is it's basically the engine of the body. So when we bring our heart into coherence, there's more harmony inside the body. Our nervous system, which is obviously one of the first things that if there's any kind of change in the energy around us, it's our nervous system that's directly, because it's the electrical field, it's the system, like the wiring of our body, that's turning the lights on and saying, okay, if we have no nervous system, well then we're going to die. We're shutting down. The lights are off, right? So when the lights are on and you're fully awake, and then some other electrical field comes close to you, calling someone else's energy, their vibration, their emotional body, that can affect you. And you shut it down, you turn it off, you turn it up, you dim it, you adapt it, you take on someone else's energy, you give your energy. So it's just a little summary. But harmonizing with who I am, and what I'm trying to be more of, to be more authentic, to be more loving, to be more true, more to feel good, to feel peaceful and joyful and happy. We all want to attain that. And we start by recognizing and understanding what it is to be in harmony. So if we know that we're out of harmony with our diet, or we have negative thinking, or we have depression, or we have stress with our home life or work life, or whatever it is that's going on, the goal is health, is that we want more harmony in these situations in our life. That is health. Health is the attainment of harmony on all the different layers and levels of you and your creative universe around you. So, harmonizing to one. What is one? What does that mean? To be one with myself means that this body and all the layers of the circulatory, the respiratory, the digestive, the nervous system, the neuronal system, the cellular system, that all the systems that make me up are working like a symphony orchestra. Because if you've ever gone to see a symphony play and the conductor is there and you're just being completely lost in the presence of all those instruments working in harmony, the minute one of them messes up and you hear something go sharp or flat or they drop a stick and there's a shift in the sound, you feel it. It knocks everything off harmony, out of harmony. And that's what happens when any one of our systems doesn't function properly. It kind of knocks off the whole system and we feel it. And sometimes it's just a little knock, like dropping the conductor stick on the floor, and they pick it up and they keep going. And it's the same thing with that aspect in the world. So if one person that is out of harmony walks into a room of 10 harmonious people and starts acting amok, it can set the room out of balance. So that happens to the small, social circles. Then it happens at a bigger level, and a national level, a global level. And so recognizing what is one, what is it to be one, doesn't mean to be just like everyone else. It means that everything in nature is working on a cycle. All this, the moon cycle, the sun cycle, the season cycle. It's in harmony. So when someone says, go into nature and you'll put yourself in harmony, because there is a untapped, unconscious energy in nature that just is. Because we have consciousness. We can choose to be in or out of harmony. Plants, well, if a tree falls down, the other trees aren't going to pick it up so that continue to grow. It will just dissolve and give its nutrients back to the earth, and that will go into the trees. But they don't get sad or happy about it. But we have a choice. So if we can emulate nature by saying, I want to be one with nature, I want to be one with the universe, what does that mean? It means I want to feel as though I am like that, because we are. Everything that is alive is connected. We're all connected through energy and vibration. And the similarity between the vibrations, for instance, if you are familiar with like 432 hertz in sound, which is the resonance of one, of peace. It's the most harmonious resonance. Of course, there's many different harmonizations and resonances that you can hear that can help tune you into balance. 432 hertz is the one that is really based in healing and in love and in harmonizing you as a full functioning being. It is also the same vibration of that of the earth. So scientists have been able to measure the sound of planet Earth rotating in space. And that is the same sound of 432 hertz. Kind of like the aum, the sound of the universe. Aum. Of course, I can choose a different tone to do it in, but that vibration that's coming through is the sound of harmony. So what does that mean when we put that into ourselves? Okay, I want to be more in harmony. I want to feel better. How does that look? I want to harmonize to one means that I'm going to practice my most human and fundamental ways of being to be the most true to myself. And there's many different ways to access that, which I'll get into shortly, so that I can harmonize and be connected with all that's around me, all that is within me, that which is outside of our earth, the universe, and beyond, the micro and the macro. Because I know that if I'm in harmony emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, well, then all my cells will be in harmony. Then I will feel good. I will think better. I will rest better. I will be in harmony. So again, everything is vibration and frequency. And now that ripple effect of what that means to how you start to change your reality to be more in harmony, that can look in many different ways. You can take that in, okay, I'm going to bring more harmony to my household, so I'm going to feng shui my house. Because feng shui is a methodology to bring more harmony to a room, to your house, to your business, with colors and shapes and directions. So this is one more time where we can see that we can bring harmony into my life. Okay, I want to bring more harmony in a relationship. Okay, how do you do that? Well, maybe you start to see a therapist. Maybe you read some books. Maybe you start to do things together in a different way. Maybe you bring more love to the relationship. So this avenue of bringing harmony in the many facets of our life is infinite. But speaking about harmonizing to one in the way in which my personal experience has brought me has been through the arts and through the modalities of self-development, healing, and that is how the birth of Harmonize to One was made. So I was actually at a yoga festival having a very powerful energy treatment when I got the download, I guess you could say, the download of Harmonize to One. The name, I saw the website, I got the whole concept, everything, and I came off the treatment table and I was just thought, wow, there's my future right there. It's been a decade plus in the making to get it to where it is today, and I've ebbed and flowed out of it, being a performer and an artist. I was focusing on those aspects of my life. But right now, with what has been happening in the world, I have been called very strongly and very prominently back to Harmonize to One, because I know that I am a part of the collective. And I felt the hit on many levels. I felt things in the last 2 years that I have never felt in my life. And I've used that opportunity to go deeper inside and to investigate what was really going on, like going into an old trunk up in the attic and saying, okay, do I need this anymore? Oh, what's this piece? It's got dust all over it. Let's get rid of that. Ooh, this one triggers all kinds of things. So the investigation of where you're out of harmony is also part of the process of finding your harmony again. So I've done that over the course of over many years, but certainly in the last 2 years, a lot more, so that I could get to the point that I am now to sit before you and share my own experience, because the school of life and the school of experience for me personally has given me more than any textbook could ever give me, than any seminar could have ever given me, is the practical exercises of go into something, throw yourself 2,000% into it, fall down, pick yourself back up and say, okay, that was not the right way to do it. How can I do this better? And learn from it. And I think over the course of decades, that has been the journey of my life, over different continents, numerous different careers, as an artist, a healer, a creator, a passionate human being for health, passionate about nutrition, passionate about others' health, passionate about creating goodness and love and refinement in the preciousness of human life. Refinement in bringing an awareness and a consciousness to the actions in my life where I may have lost my consciousness, where I lost myself in a trigger or an emotion, and to go back and bring more awareness around it and say, okay, I am a conscious human, and I know that the impact that I have on myself is just as powerful as it is to the impact I can have on other people. And I have a responsibility with that knowing to do something about it, to sit here before you at a microphone, on video, on audio, and share the little bit of wisdom that I have. I'm by far a humble student of life. It's teaching me every single day, but I do know a little bit about harmony. So, what is harmonizing to one with Lara Helena, and how does that look? So the first tool that I love to bring people's awareness to and focus on is the breath. And there's 5 tools to harmonizing to one. I'll just give you the 5 up front, and then I can break them down and go into them a little bit deeper. But breathing and the breath. The breath is the most fundamental tool to connecting with yourself, to bringing yourself in the present moment, to harmonizing and balancing the systems in your body, as in the circulatory system and your digestive system and your lymph system, etc. It is also a powerhouse for releasing and activating all of the different glands in your body that release the endorphins, oxytocin, bringing in the emotional release, etc. So it really is it's like filling up your gas tank with fuel when you're almost on empty. So as much as the nervous system is there to balance our vibration and frequency, the breath is the spirit. The breath is like the soul. Spiritus is the Latin name for breath. It means that the more we take in the, expire, right? To exhale the inspiration. So you inspire and you expire, right? So spiritus, just thinking that the breath is your spirit. So bringing an awareness to your breath and recognizing when we're not breathing properly. And that, of course, is a lot of the teachings, how to breathe properly. And what will this big menu of different type of breathing techniques do to you? So to explore each of those and see, okay, this one is good for activating energy. This one is good for calming my nervous system down. This one is good for introspection. This one is good for deep meditation. So the breath for me the breath has truly been the first stage of where I had an awareness in a time when I was in puberty, when I was in dance classes, when I was flirting with boys and trying to figure out like, oh my gosh, how do I deal with this whole 14 thing? I learned a little bit about how to breathe. Now, my dad was a yogi. So I was around that. My aunt was a yogi, so I was also around that as well. And I know at a very young age, they told me that I knew all about Kundalini yoga and was telling them all about these things that they had taught me and that I recited back to them. But as I grew older, I lost all of that. And as I came into my teens and practicing in dance class, I had one of the moms say to me, "Oh, Lara, you breathe so beautifully." And I was like, what does that even mean? I didn't even have an awareness of what that meant. No one told me how to breathe properly in dance classes. They just showed me the choreography and expected me to do it right. Or taught me, of course. So that awareness that I was a belly breather naturally. And I'm sure, okay, that maybe that's just a part of me, but maybe I picked it up from my father or my aunt or whoever. But that awareness of, okay, I wanted to investigate, what this whole breathing thing was. So I was 14, 15. I started to understand a bit more and utilize as I went into my 20s and started to travel and go on jobs in different countries. I use the breath to support me, right? Because I can't be a dancer and work all day, 10, 12 hours a day on my feet in rehearsals and then do a show that night and not be supported by my breath. Of course, it's all what you eat and how you stretch and how you take care of your body. But proper breathing will get you much farther than if you're under stress and pressure and not breathing properly. And you're much more prone to injury if you're not breathing properly as well. So, you ask any athlete, you try and run on the treadmill and hold your breath or shorten your breath, you're going to pass out or your legs are just going to give out. So it's almost like when you go into higher altitudes and the air gets thinner, you have less oxygen, so your lungs are not used to it, and so you get lightheaded and you feel like you're going to pass out. But just in the normalcy of exercising, just the concept of thinking, okay, I want to have a more empowered practice of exercising. If you really tune in on weightlifting and just really focus on breathing deep, you're going to have a much more powerful experience. Why? Because you're bringing more oxygen to your blood. The blood is being your heart is pumping more powerfully and stronger the blood through your body, and that oxygen is getting to the areas of the body that you need. Now, when you think about breath with meditation or breath with anything that you do, you toning into the breath is going to give yourself directly more focus to whatever it is that you're going to do. So in the things that you don't think that you need the breath, like standing up and doing the dishes or cooking a meal or driving a car, think about if someone almost runs you off the road or honks the horn, you jump, right? And then right away you have to, okay, come back to my normal breath. Maybe it takes you 2 or 3 deep breaths to get back into harmony so you can drive and you're not like startled so much by the focus and the profanities that have been thrown around. Etc. So again, the breath it's like in any toolkit, you have to have a hammer. It is like, the hammer, the wrench, the basics of a toolkit. Actually, I would even say it is the toolkit. It's the case that you carry all your tools in, because the breath is everything. We can live without food for weeks. We can live without water for days, but we cannot live without breath. I think the person who held their breath the longest maybe was 9 minutes or 12 minutes. I'd have to look that up. Underwater or yogis. So breathing, that big sigh, the taking in and out. So it seems so basic. And nowadays it's very common to hear about breath workshops. Breath work. What is breath work? And you think, well, I know how to breathe. Why would I want to go to a breath workshop? Well, because there are many different ways in order to activate all the different layers of who we are, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, the physiological, the psychosomatic, the subconscious. So oxygen and ways and different rhythms of breathing can get us into different states, which can open up old blockages. It's like, again, like I said, going to the attic and getting that old trunk out and saying, oh, I don't need any of this anymore. And the oxygen is going to come in. It's like opening the window on when the house has been closed up for weeks. You need that fresh air to get the dust and everything moving out of the system. And that's what happens in the body when it gets stagnated, for energetically, emotionally, physically, just lacking oxygen overall. It helps the digestive, it helps every system in the body, and it certainly supports the nervous system to be more relaxed so that you can take on more stressors on the outside world. So breathing and the breath is number one. So I love to just start with different simple breathing techniques to bring more in awareness, to teach how proper breathing with the diaphragm, showing different examples, the physicality of it, and breaking it down, and then going into different exercises of the breath. So I have a few of those on my YouTube page, and of course I go much deeper, and I have a full workshop of 2.5, 3 hours of like a breath workshop that can help people go much deeper and experience all different types of breathing exercises and different types of ways that they can activate and use the breath to support them in creating more harmony. And the second tool in the toolkit of harmony is laughter. Laughter is just like one of those paradoxical things, because who doesn't love to laugh? But to laugh on command and say, okay, I'm going to treat laughter like an exercise, like breathing or moving or going to the gym, just it hasn't really hit us. There's in the Eastern world, in Eastern philosophies, there's laughter yoga. In India, they practice it in different more modalities and places. And from my own experience, just being around people that are full of humor, that I used to live years ago when I was in London. I lived with a comedian for about almost a year, and he was actually a very depressive person, but he was so funny. And just, I've always loved to be around funny people because naturally it doesn't really come out of me. I mean, I think about back in my high school days, getting kicked out of science class with my best girlfriend because we were giggling so much and we couldn't stop laughing. And so we had to be asked to go wait out in the hall until we could control ourselves. Now, those kind of like outbursts of laughter, when you're really in tune and really succinct with someone, especially when we're younger, we can just kind of laugh about the most silly things, right? Our mind is not so complex and analytical yet. But laughter it's so powerful, and I never really realized it until, of course, I started to investigate it, like the breath. And the science that is out there, if you just type in the science of laughter or laughter and help into Google, you'll get pages and pages of articles that have, research articles on the power of laughing. So for me, laughter is also one of those things that it is our innate gift as being human. What are the first things that babies do? They cry and they laugh. It's the most natural thing to be doing in our life. It's to smile is the first way of connecting, to smile and see the eyes light up of another human being and them smile back at you. That is a language right there. So diving into the different ways in which we can laugh. Is it laughing at a TV show? Is it laughing at a situation? Is it laughing at, like you said, your child just giggling and it makes you tickled and so you laugh? Or laughing at yourself? Like literally before I walked in here to record this, I came in, I have a very low ceiling entering my studio, and I just clipped the edge of the doorway on the top of my head, and I could have been like, right, I was holding a bunch of things in my hand, my laptop, and I got the biggest smile on my face, and I giggled because I was just like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And then as I got to the desk, I put everything down. I was like, ow! But then I just helped make myself laugh, because I know that the endorphins released when we laugh are much better than the endorphins that we release and what's released when we're pissed off and frustrated that we just hit ourselves. So, and that's actually something that I noticed. I was probably about 10 years old, and my younger brother was 5. I was playing with my older brother and sister, and we were swinging him around, and he fell, and he had that look on his face that he was like he's going to cry. And we all looked at each other knowing that he was going to cry, and we all started laughing. And of course, he didn't know any different, so he looked at us thinking, oh, that was funny. Now I'm cool. And so he laughed. So that communication of laughter is so intelligent, because it does tell the mind and it tells the body. It's giving a signal to us that it's okay. We're okay, and we can be free, and we can let the energy and set the energy off in our body to release. Because what happens, right? We're activating our solar plexus, kind of like a breath of fire in yoga, where you, right? You get that laughter, you get a certain type of rhythm, and everyone, again, has their own signature laugh, which can also be what is so funny about laughing. Just listening to someone else laugh, because it's so different than your laugh, it makes you laugh. So again, it's a science. It's so fascinating to understand, why is it that if one person laughs and a couple other people chime in, you can't not help but laugh? What is that, right? So laughing is tool number 2. The breath, once we are fully oxygenated, and a lot of people who get fully oxygenated can have a lot of emotional releases. So In the workshops, they'll be that they tend to cry, really releasing, moaning, releasing old pains. Like you'll get maybe sometimes a cramp or old pains will come up in an area of your body. So you're like moving through areas that have been in contraction and where there has been a lack of oxygen. So as you breathe, you open up and you slowly release like your myofascia and the muscles and the joints, and you get that oxygen flowing into the body, and there's a massive release, which of course then brings on the endorphins and the chemical releases in your body, and you feel euphoric or you feel emotional. And sometimes you can even relive traumas from that. So going from breath into laughter. So I wouldn't do a 3-hour breath workshop and then go into laughter. But when I do a Harmonize to One workshop where I'm activating all 5 of the tools, going from breath and then into laughter, you're fully oxygenated. Now you're just kind of high and bubbling with oxygen. And now you can just dive right into the journey of laughter. And I have a bunch of different exercises to do that activate laughter. I have a PowerPoint that people can look at and slides and different funny things to kind of question how. And then I also have work that they'll do one-on-one with other people that are in the workshop. So it's so fun to do. And oh my gosh, the amount of tears of laughter that I have been a part of and experienced myself as well as witnessed it's just pure beauty. And it can be exhausting because obviously your face hurts and your belly hurts and you're not used to it. And, usually a good 20 minutes it's a good workout. And you feel pretty high afterwards. So oxygenated, full of dopamine, serotonin, the feel-good chemicals. Laughter. So that is tool number 2 of harmonizing to one. So after a laughter exercise, when you just sit in stillness, well, there's not a worry in the world. You can't get back to the analytical brain because the parasympathetic nervous system has been activated, and where like the stress response, which activates the sympathetic and fight or flight system in the body, parasympathetic is the opposite. So people will say when you go to yoga, those final poses of like forward bends and shavasana and happy baby and all these, child's pose, these are all parasympathetic activators, poses that you can do before you go to sleep because they're calming your system down. And after doing the laughter exercise, we will activate the parasympathetic nervous system and then go into a meditation afterwards, and just feel how that activation of all the energy moving through us and then slowing it back down, and then feeling the, like a storm has just happened, but a positive storm. And now there's just peace on the ocean. It's just total harmony on the ocean of your being. So laughter, number 2. My third piece and third tool of harmonizing to one, we have the breath and breathing. Laughter is sound. Speak, sound, sing, chant. Wow. Sound is so powerful. And I mean, I like to always use this quote that in the Bible, I'm not a Christian or follow any certain faith, but in the Bible and in many different philosophies, the sound or the word was the very first thing in creation. So the universe, the Big Bang, right? Even you could say, depending on what your background is, sound, that big the explosion, or the sound of the universe, the aum of the universe, the hum of the universe, the word of God, right? So sound is so powerful. And again, talking about vibration and frequencies, which we started this with, everything has a vibration and frequency, which if you put it under a certain type of measuring devices, you can hear the sound of that vibration and frequency. So we actually all have our own signature. Color has its own signature. Shape has its own signature of sound. My voice has its own signature of sound. My DNA and even my cells have their own specific signature of sound. Now we have sound healing for the organs and different areas of the body that we can tune into with devices to say, oh, this is the sound of your liver, and unfortunately it's not the right frequency to a healthy liver. So we need to help harmonize the liver with specific sound waves. So there's different types of amazing holistic treatments now that are coming out using sound medicine and frequency medicine. That's amazing. And it's what I've always stood beside, because I know that everything has a frequency and a vibration. So how to practice that on your own? By sounding, by using your vocal cords. And of course, when we're laughing, we're making a lot of sound, but it's coming from a different place, and a different intention is behind it when we're activating. So now when we want to just like hone into what our sound is, now a lot of people are very shut down in their vocal cords. Maybe they were told as a child, you can't say this, you can't make these funny sounds at the dinner table, you can't. I know for myself, I was a middle child. I was the oldest one in one household and the youngest in another. And I was silenced a lot when I was the youngest. I was like pushed aside and told what I had to say was not valuable. So I had a lot of unfortunate limiting beliefs around expressing myself through being a singer, expressing myself as an actor, expressing myself as a speaker and a teacher, and believing in myself and what I had to say was valuable. So all of that is activating my throat chakra. And that throat chakra, of course, is connected to a whole part of my being, but this was the center in which vocalization and sound came out. So going into sound with harmonizing to one, I usually start with some very basic sounding exercises with the breath, like an aum. So what is a basic aum? It's inhalation, opening the mouth like an ah with your mouth, not too wide, not too narrow. And then ah and ow. So A-U-M, ow, right? I'm going to do it here with you. 1, 2, 3. So as I said before, aum is the sound of the universe. So if you want a very quick harmonization, 3 or 4 aums with 3 or 4 deep breaths, you're getting the oxygen, you're getting the focus of getting out of your analytical mind, and you're activating vibration inside your vocal cords, which is vibrating all of the cells in your body. So you'll feel an immediate shift in your state of being. So then I like to move on to different sounds, like saying your name. So some people really love their name. Some people say their name, but they say it very shy. Some people maybe don't like their name and they wish they were called something else. So I try different words like love or peace or angry or whatever, right? To come out, to allow these words to come out of your mouth, to feel the resonance and what it brings up inside the mind, right? So just that contrast of like positive and negative words, how it feels coming through your vocal cords and what it activates in your imagination, because everything affects everything, the thought, the word, the action, right? So here we are with the word, expressing the sound, the shape with our mouth. So just getting used to like moving your mouth around the tongue, where the jaw is set. I do a lot of voiceover work and as an actor, so I've done a lot of different types of exercises to also understand how to really work out and warm up the mouth and the vocal cords. Also in singing. So that would be like the next step. So coming from intentional verbiage, going into singing. To sing your name, to sing a sentence that you make up that you want to say, maybe a 4 or 5 word sentence, and just sing it. Whatever comes out, one tone or many, bring a melody into it. So helping people to bring an awareness of the harmony in their voice, what they really sound like. Do you remember the first time you ever heard yourself on an answering machine or on a recorded device back in the tape deck days, when you recorded yourself and you listened back? I was like, oh, no, I don't sound like that. And yeah, getting in touch with your voice is so powerful and empowering to your own harmony. And then extending from that, when you then can play with sound in a way that it's not about words, but it's just getting in touch with, sometimes in meditation, I like people to just like, okay, where do you feel this emotion in your body? Where do you feel this physical hurt in your body? Can you give it a sound? And I used to have a girlfriend of mine years ago when I was in my early 20s. She always had these weird sounds that she would make when she was just trying to describe things, like a little kid in a way, but she would just be like, I was just kind of down the stairs over there, and there was this thing. So she would have all these little like percussion that would come through her when she was describing. She was French and she's speaking English to me, so I knew it was because of the translation. And and so bringing that in, that playfulness of being able to make weird sounds. I mean, as kids, you're constantly animating through sound. Now you're an airplane, now you're a car, or just screaming, or, allowing your voice to accentuate or be soft or be weird, or now I'm a tiger. So not even putting yourself in the imagination of being something else, but just making organic sounds like a baby, again, like an infant. And we don't do that. We get into the treadmill and the little hamster wheel of our life, and we speak a certain way, and we think a certain way, and we go to the job, and we do the and you get in your habit. So this kind of exercise is breaking the habit of being yourself and helping you to recognize, oh, how do I express myself? Do I express myself with refinement? Am I conscious when I talk? Do I communicate from an intentional place? How do I speak from my intuition? How do I speak from my heart? Because a lot of us speak just in a direction, in a do, a go. So how do I speak from a specific emotion? And the way to get in touch with that is just sounding from that specific emotion. What does it sound like to feel this? Or literally go into the pain in your leg, you just twisted your ankle and you're like, ah, right? You express sound when you hurt yourself. So allowing yourself to get in touch with even emotional or spiritual or physiological areas of discomfort in your body and make sound for it is so therapeutic. And after you're done, once again, like the singing, the sounding, the chanting, all these different aspects, even verbalizing or saying an affirmation to yourself. That's another aspect of the sound, is affirmation and love, giving yourself love, creating an affirmation to heal a wound and show more forgiveness to another person. Even saying it out loud in the room or writing it down and then reading it is so healing and therapeutic and can bring so much harmony to our system. So sound. That is the third modality of harmonizing to one. And on to the fourth modality of harmonizing to one, which is we have breathe, laughter, sounding or singing, chanting, vocalizing, and moving is number 4. Move, dance, physical expression, the animation of your physicality. I love to start in the aspect of movement that acknowledging that everything on our planet, in the universe, is in perpetual movement. Everything is moving. We can stand completely still, but all of our systems in our body are never stopping. There's not a moment that the cells in your body aren't busy doing something to take care of your well-being, to balance something out, to reorganize, to reharmonize, to digest, to heal. So everything is in perpetual movement. So when we understand that, the idea and the acknowledgement, we go into the perspective of what we do on a daily basis, where we wake up after 8 hours of sleep, we brush our teeth, we have our shower, we go to work. And nowadays, a lot of people go in their car, they drive. I lived in Los Angeles for a long time, so it could be a 2-hour commute, it could be a 1-hour commute, it could be a 5-minute commute. Either way, they get to their job and either they stand or they sit all day long. And then they go home and they make dinner and they sit at the table and then they sit on the couch and then they watch TV and then they go back to bed. Some people will make it to the gym or they'll do their little 1 hour of exercise and feel like, okay, I accomplished my exercise for the day. But our world is in the most stagnated place that it has ever been in history. And of course, as we all know, in the last 2 years, the freedom to move freely, literally, outside your home has been less and less on a global scale. So internationally, traveling, just going outside, moving freely in exercise, moving freely about your city, etc., has been very limited. So moving has been fundamental. And when we don't move, once again, it's like the attic. It's like the windows have been closed. We're not circulating our body. We're not shifting the energy. And so we're getting into more stagnation, and hence where everything is getting stopped up. There's more contraction, more anxiety, more depression, more anger, more emotion, because we're not releasing it. We're not shifting that vibration and frequency to another vibration and frequency unless we really have the toolkit to know how to do that in a small little space in our own room. And to like I said, we could have a full gym workout with weights and a treadmill just in a tiny little home if we know the right tools to do it. If we use oxygenation and sounding and movement, we can be fully enlightened, right? We can see how people have gone into a jail cell and they come out completely transformed physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So this time has given us the possibility to really reflect on how we put our energy out at the physical level. So movement was for me, I would say, probably my first big love. I fell in love with dance when I was in my early teens. I would probably say even earlier, like at 11, the Madonna and Michael Jackson and Prince days and Flashdance and the Footloose and all the movies that came out about dancing. It was just so inspiring to me, and I just wanted to dance. I was just dancing. I was either practicing handstands or doing some kind of dance in the living room, which I was always in the way from anybody who was passing through. So dance became my big first creative love, I would say. And I also was very influenced because my father was very into jazz. He would always DJ and put jazz records on after dinner. With that, so I was always around that kind of rhythmic and rhythm and blues kind of music, and there was always a lot of that kind of vibration around. So dance and music was really in my system. And on my mom's side, she loved classical music. So she would play a lot of, I think John Denver was one of the ones she really loved, but a lot of different types of classical music. So I got a lot of different music influence at a young age, at a diverse level. And then, of course, I lived in different places around the world. So I lived in Hawaii, so I was around the Polynesian and taking dance classes there and hula and the different types of Polynesian dances. And then I was, obviously my father is European and Slovenian, so just being aware of the different cultural dances. My mom was very into American Indian and Aborigine. She's Australian, so she was fascinated with those types of tribal things. So I was very fascinated by the type of dance that was going on in those cultures. So that led me at 14 into dance classes, and I fell in love with dance, and it became, for many years, my profession. So as I was evolving and creating Harmonize to One, parallel to after the first, I would say, decade of my dance, I also got very much into yoga, which was like, oh, this is amazing. This is like meditating with movement, because I was dancing as a professional and I was practicing different types of meditation. And then I stepped into yoga. So the awareness of movement and the effect that it has on our body. Now, I don't mean just the effect of exercising and getting ripped muscles and tone muscles and changing the shape of how our form is over the top of our skeleton. I mean the effect it has on our well-being, on our consciousness, like the practices that slow you down, like yoga, tai chi, qigong, some types of martial arts that really take everything very slow, and you have to really put your consciousness and your breath into every single trigger or movement of your body. And there's a quote that I really love, that I heard on one of the retreats I did years ago, that I remember just like, oh, that's just, I want to be like that, was a fully conscious and enlightened person knows how the effect of the movement of their eyebrow can have on the entire room. And I just thought, wow, when you see people that you admire, masters, gurus, teachers that have life experience and have just so much wisdom, you feel their grace and their harmony in their face. You just see it in the way that they walk. There's a certain presence that's coming, that's exuding from the inside, but it also is in the physicality. And now as a dancer, when I was learning dance, as a ballerina, you're learning to present yourself in a certain way, or I was doing hip hop, or I was doing commercial dance. So each one of the movements that I learned as a dance modality came from kind of like an emotional trigger, came from music that was coming from some cultural background, or some like lyrical music that has lyrics. Obviously, it's telling a story. So you become an instrument in alignment with the story that you're telling from the music, the emotional story. In the same way that if you were to watch a movie with no soundtrack, it would be a very different experience. You add music to it and it like enhances it. And what I loved about dancing was that, I think because I got so shut down verbally and I was very insecure with speaking my truth at a young age, dance finally gave me that avenue to express myself in a way that I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much that I want to put out, but I didn't have the words. I didn't have the emotional intelligence yet to verbalize what it was that I wanted to say. And sometimes there just are no words. And a shape and a movement can give so much more to an emotional expression than a word can. So movement being such a fundamental thing, again, I go back to babies. And you watch how babies move, how organic they are when they start to learn how to flip over, when they start to learn how to crawl and how to stand, and the way they move, holding on to something when they're just learning how to stand, right? And that beautiful transformation of their own empowerment of learning how to come into the world through their body. And that for me, I believe, is what dance did. At the time that I started, as I mentioned earlier, with being, in puberty and like, puberty is never easy for anybody. But dance truly saved my life. It was like going to church. It was like going to a temple, the temple of my body and the temple of music and the temple of movement. And once I zoned into that, there was nothing else. And not a worry at school, not a worry. Well, maybe there was some competition with the girls in dance class of who could get their leg higher and who could do more pirouettes. But overall, it was such a positive experience. And so in the making and creation of Harmonize to One, I wished that I had known all of these other modalities, meditation and yoga and such, when I was dancing, because I know that my experience as a dancer would have been so much more holistic, that I would have been out of my head of like, oh, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, I'm too fat in this leotard. Or, oh, there was less, I had so much judgment on myself. And that's because of the limiting beliefs I had from other things going on in my life. But as I got older and traveled and worked in different environments and on tours, and I remember go-go dancing for the first time when I was living in Germany. And that was so liberating because it was just expressing me. It was just like being out on the dance floor and expressing yourself. And who doesn't love to just express themselves physically? There's a lot of people out there that are like, no, I can't dance. But they do get to express themselves in some way physically in their life, whether that be through their sexuality, through the way that they move through their life and their home. So we all, again, have our signature way to express ourselves. There is no right or wrong. And again, we've gotten so trained in our society to believe that, oh, I'm not a good dancer if I don't dance like this. I'm not a good singer if I don't sing like this. Well, a willow tree doesn't judge a pine tree for the fact that it doesn't have really long limbs and doesn't flow in the wind like the willow tree. The daisy doesn't judge the rose that it doesn't have the same type of petals that it does. It's the same way in which we move. My signature movement, if I can get past my judgmental mind and go into my physical body and move from a place that is intentional, my movement is going to try right now to express my emotion. What's going on the inside of me? What is it trying to say? So it's almost like sign language. Again, it's like laughter is a language, smiling is a language in a communication. Movement is a language. And I also got a lot of that when I was traveling around to different countries. And, living in Northern Europe, there's not a lot of facial expressions and not a lot of hand gestures. And it's very dry. I now speak German fluently, but at the beginning it was really hard to learn the language. And I had actually come from Southern Europe. I was in Greece and in Italy and Slovenia. I mean, Italy, we all know, they talk a lot with their hands and lots of tones and da-da-da, and facial expressions. So it was much easier for me to understand just by reading their body language, just by listening to this tonage of the sound of their voice. And it's like that in all languages, in all cultures. Again, dancing, laughing, the sounding, the breath, all goes through different cookie cutters, you could say, in each different culture. But no two expression is better or worse than the other. It's just a different way to express ourselves. So if we can move our paradigm away from judging ourselves and just move into movement organically, and I like to start that with a meditation on that everything is in perpetual movement. Our cells are moving. Our systems in our body are moving. And so coming out of a meditation and starting with the first gesture with some beautiful, peaceful music of our body to that music and using with our eyes closed or even blindfolded, I like to do blindfold movement, just very small, to get away from how do I look? Because we're so focused on how we look. Is my hair in the right place? Am I doing it right? Do I look silly? I don't want anyone to laugh at me. Well, in this circumstance, yes, I welcome it all. Look as silly as you want. Laugh at yourself and laugh at others. But no, in this practice, it's more about going inwards. So getting in touch and feeling secure with how you're moving at a very minimal level, and then expanding that. So again, movement can be, like I said before, doing yoga or Tai Chi. These type of movements bring more attention to the focus of being in an alignment other than like not how I look on the outside. And that's something that I struggled with when I got into yoga, because I was like, oh, I just want to be perfect on my mat. And I want the teacher to come over and be like, oh, your arms look so great. But that's not what yoga is about. It's more about the experience of what's happening inside. Of course, all the new yogas, the power yoga and vinyasa yoga, a lot of people are all about the fitness and the clothing. And one aspect that I started to not like so much about yoga was it was started to become like it was when I was a dancer and going to dance class. It was all about how sexy and beautiful and hot you could look in your gear and your hair and whatever, your beautiful yoga mat. So I have tried in all aspects to pull myself away from that egotistical view on myself. We are all a slave to our ego in some way, shape, or form. And the day that I'm not, well, then maybe I'll be enlightened. But until this day, I have to find balance between the two. But trying to help people go into movement in a place that comes, as I said, from a very authentic, intuitive place. It's like, what is compelling inside me right now? Where does it feel that my body wants to express itself? Is it from my solar plexus? Is it a big opening that I need to do? Is it from my elbow? Is it from a finger? What is it that I'm trying to convey? And watching people in a room that are in that pure organic state of exploration is like going under the ocean and watching how seaweed moves under the water, because everyone is uniquely different. No two people are the same, right? So as I said, going backwards to the beginning of this in vibration and frequency, movement and shape create a vibration and frequency. And we get in touch with the way that our body is moving, how we're grounded on the earth, how we're flowing and swaying, or if we're in a stance that's really strong, like in a yoga pose. Each one of these shapes that we take, which, as we know, yoga is centuries old and has been there to facilitate spiritual, emotional, mind-body healing through the physicality. But so does organic movement, so does dance. So there's, in all cultures, there's type of shapes and movements and rhythms that have been taught in order to call in the moon, in order to help the crops, in order to get rid of evil spirits, right? So whatever thoughts you think about this, these movements came from an intention of doing something. It's the thought, the word, the action. So the movement is the action. It's taking action with your physical body to say, I fight for freedom, or peace and love, or namaste, right? So there's all these movements and gestures that we can take in order to transmit and communicate what is intentionally trying to come through us from our higher being, from our consciousness. So harmonizing with your movement, the goal is to give people different exercises of movement, from the very organic to the more advanced, to the end of a workshop being them doing all kinds of different types of movement, or doing movement together to communicate through movement, to whisper something in the ear and say, okay, you have to, kind of like charades, right? That's like a perfect game of having to communicate through movement, but doing that in a way that it's evoking more harmony. So once you move past, again, using 20, 30, 40 minutes, an hour of movement, and coming to the end of that, just like going through a yoga class, we arrive in that final pose of Shavasana, and now we get to just completely surrender and feel the stillness. And what has been activated, like in the breath, like in laughter, like in vocalization, that contrast from being in these states, using these tools, to the surrender of stillness, of going into samadhi and feeling one. Feeling the floor, feeling the room, feeling the music, feeling the past, present, and future, feeling the building that you're in, feeling the city you're in, feeling the earth that you're on, and the space that you're floating in. And that level of getting in touch with the perpetual movement inside us and outside of us is creating unlimited amounts of harmony. So movement, I could talk so much more about it. Movement also, and I wanted to just touch on this, because as we become more conscious with our movement, because it's not, a lot of people, as I said, they spend their 1 hour a day at yoga class or at the gym or doing their martial arts, and then they come home and then they're just like doing their normal everyday thing. And what I really want to help make an impact on is, how are we moving in our everyday life? What is yoga off the mat look like? What does that asana look like on the other, 20 hours of our day when we're not, once we get up in the morning, how do we scooch up to the edge of the bed? How do we stand up? How do we go to the mirror and look at ourselves? How do we brush our teeth? What's our posture? How are we moving? Is there an awareness of the refinement and the acknowledgement and the consciousness of our every movement? And the more that you bring that awareness into your movement, which is what I like to do in the practice, is put them in kind of normal situations of carrying their bag and drinking a bottle of water, and where do they place their fingers? So having been a dancer and learning how to choreograph something, and then acting and being on stage and memorizing, I put the bottle down there, then I walk 4 steps, and then I sit down, and then I do this, and then keeping in a character that I'm taking on a physicality and a persona and a tonnage, So all of these aspects have been a part of my experience, but all of these aspects are a part of all of our experiences. We can be whoever and whatever we want. So you look at someone on TV and they look, like all sluggish, whatever, and slumped over, and however it is, disheveled. But then they go to the dressing room, they change, and they put on their clothes, and they walk, and they talk, and they speak, and they look completely different. That playing in the world of physicality, of your voice, of your persona, of who you are, and what you want to move through you, energetically, vibrationally, physically, vocally, is your personality. So if you want to break the habit of being you, as the lovely Joe Dispenza says, you change your energy. And when you change your energy, everything in your life changes. Well, what if you can also do it the reverse way? What if you start to change the way you sit? What if you change the angle of your desk? What if you change all the things around you? Then you start to change the way you do things. Maybe for a week, you only do everything with your left hand, and you see how it activates another part of your brain. Maybe for the next 24 hours, you really focus your attention on your posture. Maybe for the next 24 hours, you think about the tone that you use with someone that you see every single day. Are you going into a habit in the way you speak with someone? Are you being really conscious that you're like, oh, I don't want to take this person for granted, even though I've been married to them for X amount of years, and I talk to them about what happened today every single day. Maybe I'm going to try a different approach. And they'll probably look at you like, what's going on with you? You're weird, right? Because they're not used to it, because you're changing. So try something out. Try a new character on for size. It can be very slight. It can be very dramatic. Even changing the shoes you wear when you're around the house. Sometimes I like to just put high heels on around the house. I don't wear shoes in the house. I wear socks and slippers, but sometimes just putting a pair of high heels on, you're like, ooh, I feel like a very different person. Or putting, clothes can be an accentuation for how you move. When you wear certain fabrics on your skin, you move differently. When I wear a pair of tight jeans is very different than when I come home and I put my cozy sweats on, right? So everything is affecting everything from the outside to the inside out, right? So playing in your movement and using it as an exploration, and not like, oh, I just do this kind of exercise, or I'm just a bodybuilder. I've always tried many different things. I worked out a lot. I liked working out because I was a dancer and it was a part of my fitness and to keep myself up to par. But I also went into weight training. I didn't like the way it made my body feel. It made me feel more stiff, and I like to be more supple and loose. So that was just a preference. So other times in my life, I know, I need more strength in different areas of my back. So again, everything around us, our posture, weights, yoga, all these different things will help us to formulate how we want to move in our life. And now a little add-on to this is that you see people, if you observe people, you just take a day and you sit and you watch how people walk. Just the next time you go into the grocery store, just take a minute to watch people, their postures, the tempo that they walk, what's happening inside them. You can tell a lot just by looking at someone's body language and their posture. Is that person happy? Are they maybe sad? Are they introspective? Are they analyzing? Are they angry? So you can just observe and try to put your feeling caps out and read someone's body language. But once you kind of tap into their body language, you start to tap into what's really going on with them. And that's called reading the room. You can really tell a lot by what the energy of people are emitting. Again, going back to vibration and frequency, because everything is vibration and frequency. So when you can master your body, it's like the quote I said, a truly enlightened being knows how the movement of their eyebrow is affecting the whole room. So each moment conscious, each moment conscious, each moment conscious. So try and see if you can track yourself and see how many times you can pull that global perspective up in your mind and be the witnesser of how you are being, how your soul, your spirit is being in your physical body. How do you feel in your physical body? Do you feel good? If you don't feel good, again, that's where we want to harmonize more. We want to bring more harmony to our body. Is it more about adapting our diet to lose some kilos or some pounds so that we feel better in the clothing that we wear? Or is it reshaping our body because I've been slouched over in front of a computer for so many years, now I can't properly stretch up. So maybe you need to do some training to open your shoulder blades up. So again, movement, as I said, is so vast. And from, personal training and yoga and dance and all of these different physical modalities that I've had such pleasure to explore. And also just loving to watch people and having traveled to through different cultures, and to be curious, because that curiosity is movement inside your mind. How do we move our thoughts? Are you recognizing that you're having the same thoughts every day? Are we expanding our thoughts and asking questions like, why do I think that thought? Why do I have that opinion? Is that a judgment? Or is that a discernment? So that is the movement of our mind, the movement of our digestion. How are the systems working inside you? Because again, breathing, laughing, singing, that's all moving energy. So movement is like so layered when you want to bring your awareness to it. And simply movement can just be fun. Just dancing, just putting music on and just dancing without any thought or any analysis or trying to be conscious. Just as I said at the beginning, going into a state of surrender, and then just like, okay, just move. I just want to move now. I just want to set myself free. What does that feel like? Because I think that there's a number of people out there that don't know how to set themselves free because their fear of being judged of how they're going to move. They won't step foot on the dance floor. They won't even step foot into their kitchen alone and put music on because they've been so shut down physically. And what does that do to them in every other part of their life? Well, then they're closed off. Then you can see that in their posture. You can see that in how they express themselves. They don't feel comfortable in their body. Well, maybe something happened to them to make them feel that way. 9 times out of 10, yes. A belief system, a trauma, something happened to them physically, or maybe they had an accident and they're in pain. So all of this are things that can come up in the workshops that I do, because people will tell me, the different situations that they've come upon and why they feel awkward doing this or that exercise. So I love to help people. I love to help people be more free in their breath, to be more free to laugh and smile, to be more free in speaking their truth, in singing and sounding, and be more free in their body and in their movement and how they express themselves physically. And that, my beautiful people who are listening and watching, brings me to the 5th tool in the Harmonize to One toolkit, which is being. Breathe, laugh, sing, dance, be. Be. To be or not to be? That is the question. And once we have been able to move through the 4 initial modalities, even if it's 5 minutes each or 20 minutes each in a full workshop, or just one day, one the next day, one the next day, when you can arrive at being, and 9 times out of 10, you will arrive in your being after each one of those modalities and each one of those tools, into a state of being. And what is it to just be? I am. I'm the void, going into the void of just stillness. It is samadhi. It is one with the universe. To be you. What does that look like? Because we're so focused on the external that now we've activated through these other tools so much that's happened on our internal that we're no longer the us that we used to be before we practiced this. We've shifted everything inside us, and we can actually feel what it is to just be, without thoughts, without words, without actions, just stillness. And the more that you practice these modalities, using these tools in your toolkit of harmony, the more you can go through life in the thoughts and the words and the action and be true to your being. To show up in any situation and be authentic. Is we have been told so much through our life how we should be. You can't be like that. You can't act like that. You can't say that. You can't sit like that. That's not acceptable. This is not the place for this, right? So we have been pushed away from our organic being, and sometimes it takes a while to take being off your yoga mat, to take being off of a private workshop where no one else is looking at you, because it feels safe there, but to take that being out into the world. And that's something that over the course of the last couple of years for me, I've really acknowledged that I feel the safest when I'm in my art forms, when I'm breathing, laughing, singing, dancing. But to speak on a podcast, Courageous Love Now, has been an exploration of really getting to know what my voice is, my true authentic voice. I studied and studied, of course, different modalities of all the art forms and, dance and yoga and etc. But I was also a part of a spiritual organization for 20 years. And after I left that organization 5 years ago, I kind of lost myself. I went through a little dark night of the soul, they call it. And I had to reformulate who I was for me without any thought form that was full of dogma or guilt or shame or something that was impressed on me. And I opened my blinders up because, again, I was 20 years having one specific train of thought with a guru and all of that. And many aspects of it was beautiful. Like all religions, there are beautiful aspects of it. But unfortunately, human beings can twist things up and make things not so beautiful. But that's not what this is about. So my point is, when we can allow ourselves to really arrive in who we are and speak and communicate and be from a place that we're not pushing our energy. Our vibration is in harmony, and we just are, like a flower in the garden, like a tree in the forest, like a fish in the ocean, like a star in the sky. We're just being what it is our genetic code was made for. We're just a waggy, happy dog wagging its tail, seeing its owner. We're being joyful when we get the intuitive hit that this is something that we love. We express ourselves because it's not blocked by some past thing that has shut us down. We are really in touch and in tune with the vehicle in which we are riding in, which our spirit, our soul is using this vehicle to experience life. But then what's an experienced life if you're just running on a treadmill every day and following a habitual mode that's not really fulfilling you and bringing you anything? So break the shackles of your habits if they don't serve you in the highest, and start to ask the question, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? Is my purpose just to be a wife, a mom, to have the job that I have, to be a sister, to be a daughter, to be a friend? I think all of those are pieces of the puzzle, but only you know why you're here. Only you know what your purpose is. And that is a part of the self-discovery process and the self-realization process that I think we all go through at some level of our life. Some people have been asking, I know I've been asking it for years because, I was a dancer, I was an actor, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. But these are all things that I can do through my creative source, but who am I? Oh, I'm a spiritual guide. I'm a priestess. I'm an angel. So all of this was in my spiritual organization. I had these titles, but that was still a title of something that I was able to attain and access through wisdom and learning and being a teacher. But who am I? Who's Lara? Who am I? Oh, wow. And that question is, there it is. Well, I am. And when I can be in touch with the facilities in which make me up, and I know what my vibration and frequency is, and I choose consciously to be in a state of love and respect and kindness and love and love and love, well, then I can be true to me, because I believe that we all come from love. We all come from the one, which is harmonize to one. When we get to that place where we feel so confident in our state of being, well, then we're just love. Then we've attained what the Buddhist masters and the monks and the gurus and the teachers of old and the prophets have attained. That connection with the divine source. We are one with everything. You are me and I am you, and we are one. You then just become a reflection of me. I become so powerful in my vibration and frequency that I just get to look in your eyes and go, wow, hi, there I am. I'm right there in front of me. Oh, and there I am too. And there I am again. Then you see yourself in the face of every human being that you pass, no matter how different they are. Because that difference is the little sliver of energy from light, from creation, of the universe experiencing itself in the human form, in the plant form, in the animal form. Because you're not just the other people. You are the dog, you are the cat, you are the blade of grass, you are the ant. I remember watching the movie The Last Temptation of Christ with, come on, I'm not even going to say the name. And Jesus, the man who plays Jesus, comes out of his 40 days and nights in the desert, and he's telling Judas about how he saw the face of God in an ant. And I'll never forget that. That was such a profound statement to me. I saw God in the eyes of an ant, or in the face of an ant. And that's it. We can see each other in everything. We can see ourselves in everything when we are in harmony. But what happens when we're not in harmony is we can be full of judgment. And what are we doing? We're judging ourselves because we can't see ourselves. We're hidden. We're blocked and locked by all this constriction and this lack of flow inside of us, that all we can see in the world is the reflection of the pain that we're living, the suffering that we're living inside ourselves. So harmonize to one, breathe, laugh, sing, and dance, and be the creative love source being that you are. And then you can be connected to the one. Then you can be connected to the whole of which we are a part. And you walk out in every day just like, wow, this is the universe that I create. And every person that I look at is a reflection of me. And I get to smile at them and go, wow, I feel good today. Do you feel good today? Oh, you don't feel so good? Oh, let me see if I can help you. Try this breathing exercise. Just smiling at them. Hey. It somehow gives more responsibility to the things that we do witness in the world that don't feel so good. Like the things that have been going on in the last 2 years and all the suffering of humanity on all the different levels. And I won't even go into all of that. But I think it's been around for centuries since humanity has been on this planet. We've had suffering and wars and deception. And we've had to make a choice as a human being what we put our focus on. Am I going to only focus on the fear and the anxiety and the judgment and the hate in the world and all the things that have been done to me that are bad, and now I'm a victim and I can't change it, and now I'm suffering in my life and it's everyone else's fault? Or am I going to take conscious action to say, I want to live. I have one life. I want to live. I want to feel good. I want to wake up every day like, yeah, I'm alive. And how many more years do I have left? Maybe I'll just reincarnate and come back again and again and again. But will I remember that? Why don't I make this life right now the best that it can be? And what's stopping you? You, 9 times out of 10. I remember in a period of my dark night of the soul crying and videoing myself, crying my eyes out, just like, why can't you just get out of your own way? Why can't you just get out of your own way? And I say that now. What's stopping you from getting yourself out of the way and living the intuitive, creative, intentional, conscious, vibrant, powerful, ignited, empowered, passionate, enthusiastic, joyful, love-filled life that you deserve? Because we all deserve that. There's not one of us that don't deserve that. Every criminal, every murderer, every psychotic person on this planet was once a baby, an infant, a pure soul that entered this world. And it's because of the environment and circumstances of what was surrounding them that turned them into this. So no person, no human being is born into this world purely bad or evil or sick. Yes, of course, there are diseases that can affect people, but everyone has love inside them. Everyone came from the creation of love. And maybe their creation wasn't made out of love, but they still have a chance. So seeing that innocence and that purity and that possibility in every human being, I think is every human being's responsibility. It's not just the preachers and the sage and the gurus and the teachers to look out there and see the good in the world. It's for each and every one of us to be the change that we want to see in the world. To have courageous love now. Now. In this moment now, I am going to courageously get out of my own way, get out of all the judgments, get out of all the opinions. I don't need to be right. I just want to be kind. And I want people to be kind to me. I just want people to accept that I'm different and I'm not like them. And I promise I'll accept them too. Right, but you can't wait for the other to do it to you first. Be the change you want to see. Breathe, laugh, sing, dance, and be the creative love source being that you were meant to be, that you came here to be. And once you hone into that, poof, your purpose arrives. You know what you have to do. And each one of us has a different mission. This world wouldn't function the way it functions if we were not in harmony over the course of numerous years with passion and conviction and inspiration and motivation. And I'm just one more little sliver, giving my little piece and my perspective of how we can get on the track of fulfilling our destiny and making the world a beautiful place. One breath at a time, one laugh at a time, one movement at a time, one word at a time, one act of kindness at a time, one moment of stillness and meditation at a time. Harmonize 2, 1. It's as easy as 3, 2, 1. It's the ABCs of being human. Get yourself in harmony and everything will fall into place. And even if it's, I need to lose weight or I need to make more money and there's all these other, there's many other ways in which you can do that. I can certainly help out in workshops and retreats with some of those things, but there's specialists in those avenues that can help you. But just starting with your basic fundamental toolkit of being human is going to get you far. Oh, I'm so fulfilled right now to share myself, to share my joy and my passion and my wisdom and my experience. And it's been a long time in the coming because Harmonize to One, as I said, was birthed over a decade ago on a massage table in the desert in California at the Bhakti Fest when I got the download. And I saw it and I felt it, but I didn't quite have the clarity. And a decade ago, I think I made my first business card. And I was a massage teacher and a yoga teacher and still dancing. And I was in the spiritual organization I mentioned and doing all kinds of workshops and teachings. But I didn't have that global perspective yet. So no, this wasn't birthed overnight. This has been an experiential journey of finding my purpose. And at the time that it was birthed was at the time that I had just come out of, it was short after 9/11, and I had a calling that the planet needed healing, more healing, and that I wanted to focus on Reiki and massage and yoga and meditation and be of service. And then slowly, as I went a few years in and then discovered Harmonize to One, I then put it on pause and decided to focus on my acting career and the other creative endeavors that I was so in love with. And 2 years ago, this month, when the pandemic started, I was visiting my father in Slovenia and doing chair yoga with him and pressing my brain because he'd just been diagnosed with with dementia and Parkinson's. That was out of nowhere. The dementia and Parkinson's. And since then, he has changed a lot and he's dissipated a lot. And at the time, I was like, with the child in me wanting to save my father from going down that avenue and doing everything I could and from everything that I knew and researching and reading, and in the same way of trying to stay protected and healed from the thing that was floating around this planet and in the news all the time. So hitting me at the psychological, the physiological, the personal level, like it has hit so many people and how that has impacted my life. And I knew it was time to bring Harmonize to One back, to return to that which I have always known, but to re-remember it, to go back into the wisdom of my life, of decades of experience, of passion and of love for humanity and for myself. To fall back in love with myself, I now can fall back in love with humanity and say, wow, I have so much hope for humanity, because if I can do it, little old me, well, then I know that anybody can do it. As I said, we all come from love. We all are a piece and a sliver of God, of the universe, of the infinite intelligence. Trust that you have the answers inside you. Trust that you will find the answers outside of you if you seek it and you ask for it. It will come to you. And it will just be a trigger, like planting seeds inside you. And then you'll just have an aha moment and go, ha, I know who I am. I am who I am. And that's just beautiful and perfect. And I'm just exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm always going to get better because I choose that. I want to be better and I want to learn more. I want to give more. I want to grow more. I want to be loved and love in return. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up now as Lara Helena from Harmonize to One on the podcast of Courageous Lara from Courageous Love Now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of my journey. Each one of you out there who might have known me decades ago or only yesterday, or those that don't know me, thank you for taking the time to get to know me a little more to step into my universe. And I really, really hope that I can be of service in any little thing that I said today. If it sparks something in your neurons and sets a ball rolling inside you to do something better for yourself, that's my biggest wish. And if you want to contact me, email, social media, website, I'm there. Harmonize to One, Lara Helena. Over and out. Hello, all you beautiful listeners. It is that time for a little shameless self-promotion. If you've enjoyed this podcast or any of the previous podcasts I have recorded, I would be so grateful if you could subscribe and rate and possibly review down below. So whatever your podcast listening app is, there is usually an area where you can leave a review of what you thought. Even just a few words can make a huge difference. And as I am new to podcasting, it will make even a bigger difference to just get the word out there and also see what you thought. Thanks so much for your support and keep on listening.